we'll say partially we have no solutions exactly, but we have started thinking. In the entire globe, people have at least started thinking. If the environmental destruction results, when people have either too little or too much, the problem is not of too little things, because too little is destitution. Too much is also a problem. If you see the bullet points, how much is enough? The question is again roaring and soaring again. What level of consumption can the earth support? Here the question which I am raising is the biosphere of the earth. How much consumption across the globe this biosphere at present can support? When does having more cease to add appreciably to human satisfaction? Because there is no limit to the human satisfaction. I already told, consume more, produce more. That is the kind of economy everybody does. Everybody designs the production cycles based on that. Is it possible for the entire world, people to live comfortably without bringing on the decline of the planet's natural health? That's important. That's the issue. Can we not damage planet's natural health? Still produce. That is why the second of my slide was saying, envisioning a sustainable society, technology and business perspective. We may therefore still in a conundrum problem admitting of no satisfactory solution. In the life supporting ecosystem of the planet, we have to survive for future generations. At least we must start thinking, because 25 years back, I only could understand the damage. Many of us, many of the extinguished delegates are here in the steel and power. Few may be in automations also. Future generations, the consumer society will have to dramatically curtail use of resources. But ultimately, sustaining the environment that sustains humanity will require that we change our values. It's not really a technological solution available that you keep consuming more, keep producing more, keep environment clear. It's not becoming possible. We'll go in the further slides to look into this. I bring to you a very special historical perspective. It's not that people did not sense many years back what's going to go wrong with the globe's biosphere. There was a gentleman, I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, must be knowing the name, a German-born economist, Dr. E.F. Schumacher. Less read by engineers, more read by techno-engineers, techno-commercial kind of people, but almost this vision was forgotten, or I will say, if not forgotten, still fainted. If you see the first bullet point, clearly says 70 years from now, the book was written by him, a book was called Small is Beautiful. People did not take care much of that because everybody wanted to be big corporate. Large corporates eating up natural resources, minerals and mines, everything. This book was almost forgotten. So 30 years from now, few people, again, and the incident thing, and the good thing I would say, were engineers who found this book again, brought to the social arena. It says, because the gentleman envisioned the illusion of unlimited powers, nourished by astonishing scientific and technological achievements, has produced the concurrent illusion of having solved the problem of production. Because he was an economist, and most of the time, the economists have a view. We have solved the production problem, the industrial era came, the revolution came, and we make a lot of productions. A lot of productions on automation, through automation, man-made automation, less of man, more of machine, high-speed productions, and we said, the engineering departments, the engineering giants, they said we have resolved the problem. But the gentleman said, no, we have not resolved the problem of production. He says, the later illusion is based on the failure to distinguish between income and capital. You would say that why, after being an engineer into the sector of steel and minerals, I am raising this issue. Because this is not actually a technological issue, it is an issue of economics, issue of commerce, issue of activity-based costing. He says the later illusion is based on the failure to distinguish between income and capital, where the distinction matters most. Every economist and businessman is familiar with the distinction. What appeals in the consistently and considerable subtlety to all economic affairs except where it really matters most. We have overlooked those areas where this difference of income and capital should have mattered most. And I am going to further slides which will tell the most forgotten area was natural resources and minerals. The irreplaceable. I am using a word. Actually, these are his words. 70 years back he wrote, the irreplaceable capital which man has not made. You see the line? The irreplaceable capital which man has not made, but simply found, and without which he can do nothing. That is minerals. A businessman would not consider a firm, the second bullet point, to have solved its problems of production if he saw that all of his capital of the venture is being eaten up. He will never leave it. How? A very pertinent question was raised 70 years back. How then could we overlook this vital fact when it comes to that a very big firm? A very big firm means nothing more, nothing less than our own Earth, our own planet. He says the economy of spaceship Earth, and in particular the economies of its rich passengers. Because the 1/5 of the richest people in the world, they consume the maximum of the resources and guzzle out the maximum of the pollution. The further slides will tell you what are the tunes of the developing countries, the industrialized countries, in relation to the consumptions made, produced more, and then created the environment pollutions in tons and tons of carbon. One reason for overlooking this vital fact is that we actually are estranged from the reality and inclined to treat as valueless everything that we have not made. The gentleman very clearly said that we have a human tendency to give no value to an item which we have not manufactured, like minerals, because minerals is made by the Mother Earth. It's not we who made these minerals, but we use those minerals, create the industry, through industry we convert them, bring value, charge conversion, make profits, and make this planet better. 70 years back this wisdom was available, which is now reopened 30 years from now. Now we have indeed labored to make some of the capital which today is called knowledge capital, elaborate physical infrastructures, innumerable types of sophisticated capital equipments. But this is but a small part of total capital we are using. If you see the total capital in a round globe, very small part. For larger is the capital provided by nature, not by man. And we do not even recognize it as such provided by nature. This larger part is now being used up at an alarming, highly increasing rate every day. If you see the net, if you see the information in the papers, everybody, every corporate is trying to become